Welcome back. Welcome back. Rod Powell here, your host of the You Should Get a License podcast edition, your number one source for information, education, and inspiration on the most underrated career opportunity in business today. That is a career in the insurance and financial services industry. And I am so excited about this conversation that we are going to have today, because we have amongst us someone who is a legend in this industry, someone who has paved roads, who has set examples, who has mentored, who has truly established a legacy that continues to be perpetuated throughout the Midwestern United States, a true innovator, because this is an innovator's edition right here of the You Should Get a License podcast. And I want to introduce our guest in this conversation, Ms. Kathy Conley-Jones. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. And after that introduction, I'm feeling even better.
Look, I've really been excited about this conversation because we've had a chance to talk, and I know a little bit about your story, and your legacy. You're Lifetime Achievement Award winner, from the National African American Insurance Association. You've done a ton of work with NABIP, formerly NAHU, which is National Association of Brokers and Insurance Professionals, formerly National Association of Health Underwriters. Done a lot of work in those spaces, and also have really pioneered the employee benefit space for not only minority but also women-owned brokerages in the country as well. So there's a lot for us to cover and talk about. Before we start digging into everything, because we're gonna go into some layers on the conversation. Can you just tell the people what has been your specialization? What has been your focus in this industry throughout your career?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that question. And let me say, as just a preface to that I am actually very excited to be on here. Okay. And that's only because I think it's important that all of us in this industry, we find our own way, we find our own journey of how not only to do what we need to do, but also how do we mentor and expose our next generation. So I am so grateful to you for coming out with the idea that you should get a license, because for everybody out there, you should get a license. Okay, so how did I start? What did I do? So actually, I started out as an educator. I got my degree from St. Louis University here in St. Louis, Missouri, in interdisciplinary social studies with a minor in education. All that meant was that I wanted to be able to plan what a city or area would look like, which means I need to know all the different components. So that's how I started. Transferring from education into the field of insurance was because of a young lady who had been a teacher with me. She left and she went to insurance. And then when she came back after the first year, she told me something that I could not even imagine at that point. And that was, you know what? You should get a license to be in the insurance industry. And I said, well, why should I? And she said, because I just want a trip to Hawaii. And I was like, oh my God. So it was, on the beginning, it was mercenary on my part. I will absolutely say that. But I think that being an educator and once getting into the business, I understood that I got a chance to educate people every single day, different than selling. We, as people of color, we need more than anything to educate our community. Absolutely. To increase that financial literacy.
Absolutely. And your journey, I think, is unique from a standpoint of when people typically think about insurance, in our community especially, a lot of times they're thinking about either their home and auto or they think about the life insurance person that either came to the door back in the day, or maybe comes down and sit at the kitchen table. And I know you have some experience in an individual business, but you really have built in a segment that I really don't see a lot of diversity in, and that's in that employee benefits area. You know, how did you, coming from education, how did you kind of find your bridge into that space?
Necessity is the mother of invention. And I started out, of course, on the life side, very much on the life, and in the retirement area. So talking to teachers about their tax sheltered annuities. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened that starting there, one of the things I realized was, when you would go to talk to someone on an individual basis in the evening, the kid was throwing up on your lap and the dog was kind of, urinating on your leg. And you were like, is this all there is? And I started to think, and I met a gentleman who was originally from New York Life. And he talked to me and he said, if you don't want to have to go one person at a time, why don't you talk to businesses? Really? And he started to talk to me. He had been a manager for New York Life for like 19 years, 8 months, and 34 days, or 29 days. Okay. Because they used to have something called NILIC. And once you hit 20, you were then got your pension. And they would take you all the way up and then drop you. So he started telling me about going to talk to business owners, because business owners have the same idea I had, which is they want to see you during the day. They don't want to see you in the evening. They have situations, they have challenges that they need someone to help them with, and they know how to make decisions. So all of those things were important. And I started to look at the benefits area from that particular position. How do I take the knowledge that I've started to gain, and then how do I actually penetrate that market? And I knew that the most important thing was I had to find something. You should always differentiate yourself. Don't come in talking about what everybody else is talking about. Oh, let me take a look at your insurance and see if I can reduce your premium. Don't do that. Talk to them about something that's close to them. And when you go in and you talk to them, you ask them questions. What's really important to you? And they'll actually tell you. So I started in the benefit side of talking to small business owners, which led to larger business owners, which led to could be a nonprofit organization, could be a governmental entity, could be an airport, could be a school district. And from there, I just kept going, because sometimes, as you can see, I don't know when to stop.
It just continues to just scale and scale and scale. No, I love that so much. And very interesting that your background was in education, because there seems to be a bridge between educators and insurance. Oddly enough, people don't necessarily think about it as much, but typically I have seen people with education backgrounds come into this industry and do very well. What do you think it is about the training as an educator that helps you to be successful in this industry as well?
I think the one key factor is educators all want to see those that they're talking to basically have that light come on. There's something that happens. Now, when I say that light comes on, it's like the bulb over their head, and it gets you excited. And all that's basically meaning is that they got it. They understand it. Now I can help them go forward. And I think educators aren't focused on selling. They're focused on the particular position that they have, which is, it's a powerful position when you're standing as a teacher in front of people. You're saying that you know what you're talking about. And then you're also empowering them with information that they didn't have before, or you get them to look at it in a different way. And most educators, I think, have a joy about that. And I truly think a lot of individuals that are what I call educators, that's where their heart is, they will do so well in this industry because they understand the principle of let's understand before we go forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like creating, it's like you want to make sure that you're creating that understanding before, before, the person makes a decision, because you want them to be educated. You want them to make that educated, the educated decision. It makes perfect sense.
And you know what, Rod? Part of that education is you allow people the opportunity to buy and you don't sell.
That's
So
right.
once you give them an information, right? Think about you going in to get a car. You've checked on everything about the car that you like, what you don't like. You've got all these different features, and you go in, you look at the car. You don't just say, okay, I'm going to buy that car. If you've got a great person, they educate you on it. How do you drive? What do you need? Do you need something that's going to be low mileage? Do you need something that's going to be comfortable? What do you need? And most individuals are, from an education standpoint, they're usually not thinking of themselves when they're talking to those who are students, okay? What they're thinking of is how can I fulfill the need that you have by the information that I have. And then when a person sees and that light comes on, then they say, you know what? You've given me 2 or 3 options. Okay, I know exactly what I want to do. I want to go with this option.
Yeah.
And that's what educators do. That's not what salespeople do.
Mm-hmm.
Salespeople are focused on the sell, and they're not focused on the continued relationship to ensure that that person who has just given you their confidence, and that's huge. A person gives you their confidence, that they're saying that they trust you. At that point, that's what you must do. You give them the power, empower them with the education so that they can make a choice. And when they make that choice, all of a sudden, they feel better. They're not going to drop the policy because they always know it's not about transactional numbers.
Yep.
It's not the lowest. It's tell me how this makes my life better.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. How I see it.
No, that's the way it should be seen. I always find that, the best individuals in this business, and it's always been a focus of mine, is to not focus on selling at all. If you do focus on just, as you mentioned, educating that person, most people are smart enough to make decisions for themselves if they have the right information to go on. So that's a very important note.
Also, patience.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
I said patience is important.
Yes. The best brokers, the best agents, the best consultants that I've seen, they spend more time listening. As you mentioned, you said, hey, asking questions, seeing what those answers are, and then solving the problem or answering the question. Hey, here's something that could actually fix
exactly
that.
Right.
Exactly. Here's something that could actually fix that for you. Oh, really? Okay, yeah, that makes sense, right?
Exactly.
But you're not trying to push or pitch something, and I think that's so important, because in this industry, I personally feel like it's a deterrent. People think it's sales heavy and sales focused, and I think it can give them the wrong impression because of whatever their perceptions might be, and it's not that at all. It really is about creating that consultative relationship, as you mentioned, like relationship, and just helping someone with the solution that they may need at that particular time, because it's critical. People are entrusting you with things that are going to affect their lives for potentially generations.
It's crucial.
Yes.
It's crucial. And one thing that I picked up along the way was tell them what is about to happen. Tell them what this process is going to look at like. This is the process, and you ought to have a process. It's in your head. It may be on a piece of paper, but when you talk to them, they already know the process because you explain to them, this is how we're going to go through this process. We're going to find out the things that are important to you. You start there. Don't start with a product. You know, like, hey, I've got this group medical plan. It's going to be less. You don't know if that's the case. What you want to do is find out how they think and how they also learn. It's two different things. And you can listen to your client. You'll find out how they learn. Some people go, got it. When they say got it, shut up. Don't keep talking. They just told you they got it. Some people have a tick. Uh-huh. All right. At that point, you say, okay, got it. Let's move to the next piece.
Move on, right.
Right. So you like say, this is how we're going to do. We're going to get information on your current plan. We're going to review that plan, make sure that the things that you feel are important are in that plan. And if I can bring something different. And then I think the one thing that sometimes we all forget to do is to say to them, once we get to this point, you got to have a commitment. Once we get to this point, if I have done 1, 2, and 3, don't give folks like 25 different things. Okay. They're not going to hold on to that. If I can do those things for you, is there anything, and you ask them, is there anything that would prevent you from working with me? Sometimes it's they got a cousin, they got an aunt. Well, you don't know who's out there, but you have to ask the question. And if they say to you, well, I don't know if I can because I'm not the person that makes the decision. Okay, then how do I know when I've answered and I've actually solved the challenges you had, that I brought the solutions? How will I know that? Put them on the spot.
Yeah. Man, okay. It's that's some sales psychology training that you gave right there. Just because that's, I mean, I think sales is defined incorrectly. I think sales has been defined incorrectly, like in public perception, because people think of sales and they think of, you're pushing something on someone or trying to persuade someone to do something, when sales is actually kind of helping people to get where they want to go. And sometimes they don't know because they don't know what the options are, especially in our industry. When you're talking about insurance or medical plans, you say, hey, let me help you with an annuity. What's that? So it's like, it really is helping people to find solutions that they don't even know exist in most cases.